Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. I know it's been a tough week for everybody, and so I'm very happy to report we've all made it through uh, the first full week of October, and uh, we are really fortunate to have one of our excellent alumni speaking to us today. Before we get to John Ramsey, though, I want to turn it over to Sharon George, the Vice President of the John Marshall Pre-Law Society, so that she can give her greeting today.
Thanks, Dr. Kirby. Hello, welcome to everyone. As Dr. Kirby said, thank you for taking time out of your Friday to come and meet with us. We hope that this event will be helpful for everyone, and we really appreciate you being here to connect with us. And on behalf of JMPLS, I want to extend our gratitude to Mr. Ramsey. We deeply appreciate alumni who are willing to share their time and their insight with us, so we really thank you for being here today. If you don't know me or JMPLS, my name is Sharon and I'm the VP of the John Marshall Pre-Law Society. I'm also joined today by our awesome president, Leslie Medina. JMPLS is a pre-law org on campus, and our goal is to kind of connect students to resources and opportunities that will help them on their pre-law journey. We have two upcoming events that I want to speak about really quickly. The first is on October 16th from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m., which is next Friday. On next Friday, we'll be partnering with Angie V of Leg Up Legal to host a networking seminar and virtual happy hour event. Angie is the founder of Leg Up Legal, and we work with her quite a bit in JMPLS. Leg Up Legal is a pre-law and JD mentoring networking society, and it's also the very first nationwide program of its kind, so we're really excited to be able to work with them to provide resources to students. Angie herself is kind of the queen of legal networking, and she will be giving out her master list of internships, scholarships, and programs to everyone who attends our event next Friday. So we're really excited to team up with her, and we hope that we see y'all there. We're also excited to host our 3L panel on October 21st from 4:30 to 5:30. This panel is going to feature 3 UTD alumni who have made it to the end of their law school journey and have a ton of wisdom and advice to share with y'all. Our speakers are going to include Tallulah Lanier, who is a former JMPLS president. She currently goes to Emory Law, Brooke Lopez from UNT Dallas College of Law, and Daniel Gonzalez from the University of Houston Law Center. I know I went through those events kind of quickly, but if anyone wants any more information about events, how to get involved with JMPLS, or what JMPLS can offer you, I'm going to be posting our email, GroupMe, and Instagram links in the chat. So thank y'all. We hope to see y'all at future events. Great luck to y'all on your midterms if you haven't taken them yet. Congratulations for making it halfway through the semester already. We're really happy that you're here. And Dr. Kirby, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Sharon. Appreciate it. So I'm very pleased to introduce to you a great friend of pre-law at UT Dallas. And yes, he is a UTD alumni, and that is John Ramsey, the founder of the Ramsey Law Group in Houston. He is a graduate of the University of Houston Law Center. And since that time in founding his law firm, he has won numerous legal industry honors, including being one of the National Trial Lawyers, top 100 trial lawyers every year since 2013. He has a very fascinating work that he does as basically a personal injury and products liability trial attorney, and he has won numerous large verdicts. The most interesting to me are those that are focused on product liability, because he has been involved in cases that either included or led to recalls of defective tires, dangerous automobiles, has testified about those types of product liabilities, and has protected his clients' interests in many different areas, including, you know, your big 18-wheeler truck accidents. Something, a little known thing, because of having lived in Colombia, he is a fluent speaker of Spanish.
Sí.
So without further ado, here's our speaker for today, our alumni, Mr. John Ramsey.
Thank you very much, Barbara. I really appreciate that. First and foremost, thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to speak to you. Whenever Barbara reached out to me and asked if there was anything that I would like to share with you, as upcoming potential candidates to enter the legal profession, I jumped on the opportunity because I would have given anything to be in your shoes in 1995, 1996, when I was at UT Dallas, thinking about going to law school and seeking advice from those that had already walked the path and done the journey. So after 20 years of practice in law, I thought now would be a good time to come and speak to you and tell you a little bit about my journey, how I got to where I am, and why I think that I still have a lot of gas left in the tank even after doing it for 20 years. But first, let me just congratulate you. You have taken a step and shown an interest in what my opinion is one of the greatest, most noble professions that we have. So I can only hope that you continue the course if you feel passionate about it, and that you actually come into the legal profession and that you make a difference like so many that have come before me have done. I'm very passionate about what I do, and I think that you're going to sense that by the time we're done here today. But before I get into that, I want to tell you a little bit about who I am. My name's John Ramsey, and I own the Ramsey Law Group. We are a small firm in Houston. We are a boutique firm. What that means is I handpick every case, and every case has me, my associate attorney, Joel, senior associate attorney, Joel, and one of two legal assistants assigned to each one. We have an intake and medical record specialist as well. We have an office manager that handles all of our administrative, bookkeeping, and human resources issues as they come up. And that person happens to be my wife. So she works with us too. It's a family-run law firm. We're small, but we get phenomenal results. And the reason is because, like I said, we handpick every one of our cases. I turn down over 200 cases a year, and I always actively have about 50 on my docket at any given time. And we don't like to go more than that because we pour our heart and souls into every case that we pursue. Like you, I went to UT Dallas. I grew up in Plano. I was a kitchen manager at Pappasito's down the street from you guys, over in Richardson on 75. I worked for Pappas for 6 years. In fact, I did that while I was attending UT Dallas. So those 60-hour weeks in the kitchen as a kitchen manager at Pappasito's, and then having to go to school either in the morning or at night, wore on me a little bit. And I can candidly admit that I have taken naps in the bed of my pickup truck in the parking lot of UT Dallas because I was so tired from closing the restaurant the night before. I met my wife at Pappasito's. She was a hostess before I went into management. I met her there. We've been married for 20 years. We have 4 kids. We live in Houston. After my time with Pappasito's, I realized that I wanted to do something more than restaurant management. So I stepped out of management and went and took the LSAT and took a prep course. I did Kaplan. And then I started applying to law schools. I applied to 11 and got into 9, which I was very pleased with. And I inevitably ended up choosing U of H for 2 reasons. Number one, I was paying for it myself, and it was one of the most economical, but also it was one of the highest ranked schools that I got into. So I chose U of H, and I'm very glad that I did. I was very happy going to law school there. I do want to offer you some advice before we get into the practice of law, where you are right now. You are about to, if you want to go to law school, take the LSAT if you haven't already done so, and then you're going to start applying for law schools. Take a prep course for the LSAT if you can. They're expensive, but my grades went up so much whenever I took that prep course. From the first time I ever took a practice test, my scores went up astronomically. It was well worth the money. So I recommend a prep course. I know when I did it 20 years ago, Kaplan and Princeton Review were 2 of the biggest. I'm sure you've got some new players now, but by all means, that's my first bit of advice for you. Second bit of advice: when you're applying for law school and when you fill out your application with the Board of Law Examiners and the State Bar of Texas, be 100% truthful. If you think that the state of Texas or your law school aren't going to find out about that MIP that you had back in high school, you're wrong. They're going to find out about it. And when they find out about it, if you don't disclose it to the state of Texas, you don't get a law license, possibly. If you do disclose it to the state of Texas in your long background check, but you don't disclose it to your law school is going to find out about it. And they're going to do what happened to two of my friends in law school. Apparently, they'd gotten in trouble in college and didn't disclose it to the law school, and both of them weren't allowed to walk at graduation. And they found out less than a month before graduation, when family members already had plane tickets scheduled and everything. So my advice is be truthful, obviously, on those applications. Picking the right law school is important. If you want to be a litigator, you may want to consider going to a school that really hones litigation skills. If you want to get into health law or some other subspecialty, go to a school possibly that has a lot of accolades in that particular area. But at the end of the day, for me, based on where I was, it was a matter of cost, ranking, and convenience. So my wife was a teacher also, and there were plenty of opportunities for her to find a teaching job to support us while I was in law school here in Houston, obviously, with it being so large. So after law school, my advice for you is to take a bar prep course. And it's my understanding that the bar has changed. And I think that there's now a multi-state bar option now that Texas is leaning towards, where we didn't have that when I was taking the bar exam. Texas, New York, California, those were three of the hardest that you could take. I had a lot of friends that failed it. So study hard for that bar exam as you're going and getting out of law school and getting ready for that endeavor. I told Barbara before we started, and I think she agreed, when I walked out of the bar exam, my brain was fried. I looked up and I said, I'm never taking another test for the rest of my life. And I have held strong. So no tests since then. And I enjoy that opportunity to be able to say that, because it's that difficult. So study hard for it and you'll do fine. I want to fast forward to once you get out of that aspect of law school and it's time for you to start your career. I want to talk about the peaks and the valleys, because this is really important. No one ever taught this to me. And you come out of law school and you're a brand new baby lawyer, as they call all of the newbies that graduate and start their legal careers, and you don't know what to expect. Some of you may have worked in a law firm before that time, for law school, during law school, before law school. I actually worked for Judge Jorge Solis, which was a federal judge in Dallas, while I was at UT Dallas. And Judge Solis allowed me to come and intern for him as a part of my school credit. I got school credit for that as a part of the program there through the Interdisciplinary Studies School. And I got school credit for that, and I loved it so much that when the semester was up, I asked the judge if I could stick around and keep doing what I was doing for free. And he actually put me on salary, and I was a paid employee of the judge's chambers for a year while I was taking the LSAT and wrapping up my studies at UT Dallas. That experience was invaluable for me, because I got the opportunity to sit through hours and hours of courtroom experiences. I saw criminal trials, I saw civil trials, and every time the court was in session, judge allowed me to sit right up there next to him, off to the side, and take as much notes as I wanted. And we would go back in chambers and talk about the pros and the cons of what we saw that day. And I really enjoyed that. So if you're interested in litigation, go down to the courthouse and watch court, because I used to sit there and take notes. I think I could do that better than him. I would have done this. And I took notes and I saw what worked, what didn't. And by the time I was even walking into law school, I'd already sat through hundreds of hours of courtroom experiences, trials, hearings, all sorts of good stuff. So once you get out of law school, though, it's time for you to decide, obviously, what you want to be. If you're a prosecutor, if you go work for the government, if you want to go teach, if you want to become a litigator, whatever it is, you're going to kind of figure out during law school what you're interested in based on the classes that you take and the experiences that you have. The purpose for this talk is staying centered in the peaks and valleys. So now that we are into your legal career, I want you to understand what peaks and valleys are, okay? A peak of mine was getting the verdicts that we've received from the jury the day that we received them. That's one of my high points. That's my mountaintop. Another peak is 100% five-star reviews on Google, 100%. That means that my firm has taken care of business for every single client we've ever helped that wrote a review. Hopefully that all of them, but for the ones that wrote a review, nothing but 5-star reviews. That's very rare for a law firm, and we're very proud of that. So other peaks. I've taken clients to Washington, D.C. to lobby for safer roof structures on vehicles because I was tired of my clients dying and getting spinal cord injuries whenever their vehicle would roll over because they suffered a tire failure. I've worked on 100 of those cases in 14 different states. And we were fortunate enough in 2007 and 2008 to go to DC and lobby for those safer standards. And we were successful. Roofs today on vehicles are 2.5 times stronger than they were before 2009. So we're very fortunate that that happened, and we're very glad. That's another peak. What's a valley? A valley is your low point. Losing a case is a big low point for a litigator, obviously. Another low point is the daily grind, and you allow monotony to come in, and then you allow yourself to become numb, and all of a sudden you're not as passionate for doing what you used to do, at the level that you used to do it. That's another valley. And so the whole goal here is for you to keep that in mind as we go through the rest of my presentation, where you're thinking about those peaks and valleys that you're going to encounter during your career and how to stay centered during those peaks and valleys. I have worked at a firm that had 25 attorneys, 150 support staff, 5 offices, and 2 planes where we could fly anywhere we needed to at any given time on a moment's notice. And now I work for a very small firm that I own that has none of those things, and I absolutely love it. The reason why I'm telling you those things is because I've seen both types of law firms. I've been a part of both types of law firms, and you've got to decide what type of law firm you want to go work for when you get out, if that's what you want to do. When I first started in 2000, we had BlackBerries. There were no iPhones. The BlackBerries had just come out. That was the first time that you could actually email someone and they could get their email without sitting in front of their computer. And that was a bad thing for me because you couldn't escape the partners in the law firm anymore. And so that's when it all started. This technology that we have today started literally right when I started practicing law. And it's changed so much over time. We didn't have email on our phones. We didn't have cell phone cameras. We didn't have cell phone video. There was no e-filing. You had to paper file everything at the courthouse. So back in 2000, you had bicycles riding all over downtown Houston, and they were couriers. They would run to your firm, pick up the documents, take them down to the courthouse, file stamp them, bring them back to you on a bicycle. And it's amazing to see how far we've come in 20 years. Now, in the era of COVID, we've seen it change even more. I have countless Zoom depositions, countless Zoom hearings. We don't use paper copies anymore of exhibits at trial. It's all electronic now. Our entire presentation is electronic. So the point that I'm making there, even no more travel. I haven't gotten on an airplane for work since February. And it's absolutely amazing how we have, transformed our practice based on what we're presently facing. And we've adapted. And it was necessary to do. There was the first Zoom trial just happened in Florida this week, and it was 100% online. The judge sent out jury notices. They sent out 60. 40 of them showed up, much to their surprise. They picked a jury of 6 with an alternate. They tried the case. It was a personal injury case. And they got a $411 million verdict online through Zoom just this week in Florida, Tallahassee. So it is possible for us to keep the wheels of justice rolling down at the courthouse and for us to keep allowing our clients to exercise their 7th Amendment rights by filing those lawsuits when they're hurt or they're killed and their loved ones are killed, and we get to go down and hold them responsible for that. And so to see civil litigation continue on is a delight because we haven't had any trials for 6 months. We just started having hearings 3 months ago. We've just started taking depositions 3 months ago. So the adaptation was fast and it was necessary. And it's because we have an obligation to pursue that 7th Amendment right for our clients. So that's kind of why we do what we do. But aside from that, I wanted to move on and tell you about the peaks and valleys and how you can stay centered during those times. You're going to encounter those peaks and valleys throughout your career. Over time, you have to make your mind up very early on as to how you're going to handle the stresses that come with a legal career. And the stress that's at the office associated with a litigation practice at times seems insurmountable. And you can't allow that to get to you. So how do you get through that? You have deadlines. You have opposing counsel who can be a little cantankerous at times. You have a judge who basically undresses you in front of opposing counsel and now on YouTube because all the hearings are online because maybe you weren't prepared or you misspoke or misquoted or miscited a case. Those things are going to happen. You're going to lose a case. You're going to get an adverse ruling. You're going to have deadlines that make you feel like you aren't going to be able to get through that particular period of time and survive it. But you have to understand that in order to get through those valleys and continue on looking forward to the peaks, you've got to be balanced. And a lot of people that don't end up making it in this profession do so because they aren't balanced. Well, what does that mean? It means you literally have to have your mind, your body, and your spirit balanced to be able to handle the stresses of the legal profession. And whenever I say your mind, I mean you need to go to continuing legal educations. You need to read non-legal books that interest you, history, whatever, art, whatever interests you. You need to go on vacation. I know a lot of people that don't go on vacation. I go on 2 or 3 vacations a year. One with just my wife, a couple with the kids, and we make sure that whenever I'm on vacation, I do everything I can before we leave to be 100% with my family when we're on vacation. Yes, I'll answer my phone in an emergency. I'm still available, but I'm not emailing 4 hours a day while we're sitting on the beach somewhere on a vacation. And I think that that's important. I'm a big fan of recharging your battery, and you've got to do it. I make my staff do it. I do it. I think that it's a huge benefit, and everyone should do it. That's the mind portion of balancing mind, body, and spirit. Your body's easy. You have to exercise. You have to get good enough sleep at night. You need to do all those things, vacations even, resting your body as well. Those things are going to help you get through the peaks and valleys of the legal profession. And lastly, but not least, is spirit, obviously. And I meditate, I pray, I listen to podcasts of things that interest me. And a big part of my spirit in the mind, body, and spirit for staying balanced is charitable work. I made a decision a long time ago that our firm was going to give back more so than a lot of our other firms that we work with in Houston. And so we've given to countless charities. We sponsor countless events, and we do things like adopt families at Christmas to just take care of their Christmas presents for the whole family, either because they're low income or maybe one of the family members has HIV, or they're unemployed. You name it. We do a lot of work with the Houston Rodeo to help raise funds for scholarships for kids. And I always believe in the old adage that I heard a long time ago, and I've based a part of my firm on this old adage, which was wise people plant trees under whose shade they shall never sit. And that's an old ancient Greek proverb, and that's on my website under our charitable donations section and giving back. And I love that because our whole goal is to leave this place in a better spot than it was when you found it. And what better way to do that than to help people that are less fortunate than you, and you bring them with you along the way. So that's how you can stay centered during the peaks and valleys by making sure that you're balanced with your mind, your body, and your spirit. I do want to talk about something that's uncomfortable, and I want to talk about it right now because you haven't started your legal career yet, and you need to be cognizant of this as you go through the motions. There is a high incidence of burnout, alcoholism, and drug addiction in my profession. And I will tell you that I have friends that have lost their licenses in 20 years of practicing law. I've seen friends walk away from law because it wasn't good for their mental health. They weren't balanced and they struggled. And I just wanted you to know that there's certain areas of the law where there's higher incidences of depression, burnout, alcoholism. Statistically speaking, certain areas of the law, like family law, criminal law, those have a higher incidence of alcoholism that you can see, and drug addiction and things like that. So you need to be cognizant of that. And that's why I'm telling you right now, before you even go to law school, figure out who you're going to be and how you're going to handle this profession. And I want you to understand that this profession is phenomenal and that it's difficult, but it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding. I absolutely love what I do. I love getting up every day in the morning. I love going to work. I love making a difference. We are making a wall right now at my law firm, and we went online and we pulled words from all of our 5-star reviews on Facebook and on Google and all of those things. And we actually made a mural that has our logo in the middle, and it has all those words on the wall. And it's a huge mural that's going to take up the largest wall in my office, in my law firm, in the hallway. And I'm putting those words up there so that we can remind ourselves and our staff why we do what we do. There's another wall in the law firm that we're starting right now where we put photographs of all past clients on cases that we've litigated with. And we went through the journey with them. We held their hand and we hugged them and we supported them along the way, and we fought for them. We were their voice when they felt that they were voiceless. And so we have a wall of client photos that's going up in our new office space. And so, that's why we do what we do. We make a difference. We feel like we make a difference. And the only way that we can give our clients our absolute best when they come to us at their absolute worst is if we are balanced and we're ready to take on that task. And so every case in my law firm is not a file number. Every case in my law firm is not a case. It's a cause. And we are all in for the cause because those people chose us. Most of my cases are airplane crashes, train accidents, rollovers, tire separations, fires, refinery explosions. People have spinal cord injuries. They've lost a loved one. They have amputations. They're never going to walk again. They've been burned. And we absolutely have to give them everything that we've got because they've got one shot at justice. And that's why we keep it small. That's why we're as picky as we are. And that's why I set this up the way that I did. And I'm happy and I'm content and I am professionally satisfied. And I have joy in my heart for the folks that pick us. And I feel like that's what we owe them for choosing us. So my whole firm feels the same way. We stay up here late. We put in the hours. We take care of our business. And I think that is proven through our results and through our reviews. So 20 years later, I look back on my career and I see 100% 5-star reviews. I see 3 top 10 Texas verdicts. I see 1 national top 50 verdict. And I enjoy all of those, but it's the person behind those verdicts that makes me get out of bed every morning, not the accolade on the wall. It's the person for whom we were fighting, that human who said, help, and we chose to do it. So I wanted to wrap things up. We've been going about 40 minutes. I wanted to wrap things up by telling you 2 things. Number one, I don't know if any of you guys have this. I don't know if it's a part of your curriculum at UT Dallas, but this is the Pocket Constitution. And I want you to understand that as a 20-year veteran in this profession, I think that this is the greatest legal document ever written. This and the Magna Carta. This was written by a whole bunch of guys who are way smarter than me a long time ago, and it's still in effect today. In doing what I do as a civil litigator, I pursue the 7th Amendment rights of my clients. Well, what does the 7th Amendment say? It says, in matters at common law where the amount in controversy exceeds $20, the right to a trial by jury shall be preserved. And so what does that mean? That means that when that document was written, If there was an amount in controversy that exceeded $20, someone had a right to go and file a lawsuit in a civil court. And that's still the law today. Still the law today. Has it been under attack? Absolutely. That'll be the topic of another chat with you guys. Caps on punitive damages, caps on medical malpractice, arbitration clauses. I could put on a 1-hour seminar about the attacks on our civil justice system alone, but it still survives. It still exists. And if you're going to be a civil litigator, you need to carry this around, and you need to memorize the 7th Amendment. If you're going to be a criminal defense attorney, you need to memorize the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th Amendment. If you're going to be a civil rights attorney, you need to memorize the 14th Amendment. So at the end of the day, those are all of the things that you need to think about when it comes to the Constitution. But as a pre-law student interested in the legal profession, I sure hope you have this. I hope that you have it and that you read it and you digest it, because you're going to take an oath to protect it if you choose to go down this road. And that's an oath that I wholeheartedly took. I gladly took, and I have consistently upheld it for 20 years. So the last thing I wanted to leave you with was a quote. And I thought that it was appropriate given the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg recently. And she had a quote. She'd said it many times, and it's a quote that she would always tell law students when she was meeting with law students. And I thought that it was appropriate for this conversation today. So I wanted to share it with you. She says that I tell law students, if you are going to be a lawyer and just practice your profession, you will have a skill, very much like a plumber, electrician, or carpenter. But if you want to be a true professional, you will do something outside yourself, something that makes life a little better for people more fortunate than you. Now, I want you to think about that. If you want to just be a litigator and just practice your profession, you can get up every day and go to your law firm, and you can put in your 22 or 2,400 hours that your law firm requires that you bill every year, and you could just do the same thing day in and day out, making a difference for your clients and doing your profession and doing it well. But if you want to truly be great, you have to go outside yourself. You have to put yourself in a zone that is less comfortable, and you have to give something of yourself to someone less fortunate to make them great in order to become great. So digest that, think about it, and I've gone right at 45 minutes, so I appreciate your time. I'm going to open it up for questions now, I think, is what Barbara had in mind.
That is exactly what I have in mind. So if anyone's got any questions, here, I'll turn my camera off too. But first, let me say, John, fantastic. You really summed up so much about our profession, and it's just wonderful to hear and so great to know that you're out there doing what you're doing. And, just fantastic. I admire you so much. And yes, I had a BlackBerry too. And I would tell you, back at that point in time when I wasn't quite as centered, my husband nearly threw it out of a hotel window once when we were supposed to be on vacation. So, yeah. So I think here's a question. This is from Sharon. What do you think is something that new lawyers only learn once they started working? Oh, that's a good question.
Oh, I got
so much.
First of all, I will tell you this. I forgot to tell you, in the age of COVID, we used to order these for clients. Little notepad, right? Looks great. Has our address on it. Now we're having to order these.
Oh man.
Ramsey Law Group masks. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to tell you, the person that asked the best question today gets a pocket Constitution and a Ramsey Law Group mask, and I'm going to mail them to Barbara so she can hand them out whenever she sees you guys again, or I can mail them to you personally. We can figure that out. So first question, tell me who it was again.
It was Sharon, our introducer today. She said, what do you think is something that new lawyers only learn once they start working? So that's where we've set the bar. That's a great question.
Okay, this is really a fantastic question, and I have the perfect answer for it. Okay, office politics. And what I mean by that is, as a baby lawyer, you come in and you got your law degree. And there's two types of baby lawyers, right? I'm going to say there's three. There's the bulldogs who come in and think I've got my law degree and I could tell everybody what to do and that I know everything because I got my law degree. There's people that are scared and they don't know what to do and they're just going to take instructions from anybody, even if it's the copy guy, because all they want to do is please everybody. And then there's people right in the middle who don't want to be overly aggressive, but they do have a little bit more confidence to be able to handle the day-to-day grind of being a baby lawyer. I was the middle person. And despite being the middle person, I had 10 years of restaurant experience under my belt when I went to law school and then started practicing law. So as a restaurant manager, I'm used to dealing with people. I'm used to dealing with people below me. I'm used to hiring and firing people. Most lawyers aren't. Most of them get out of law school had never even had a job before, a lot of them. And they walk into a law firm, and that is a complex atmosphere to walk into. You could teach a sociology class just on law firm politics and the environment of a law firm. So the answer to your question, Sharon, is lawyers, a lot of them who have never been in a supervisory role before, learn for the first time how to interact with someone who's there to help you and work under you, but with you at the same time in the form of legal assistants and legal secretaries who are there to help you do your job. And you need to figure out right now, before you take that job, how to speak to them and how to make them feel appreciated and how not to bark out orders, throw them under the bus and talk down to them, because you're never going to get to where you need to be if the people that are working with you don't believe in you.
That is just fantastic. And I also love your relationship to what you learned working in restaurants, because of course, you know, our students are working retail, they're working in restaurants, they're working all kinds of places. And I think it's important to remember you get so much from that. You know, don't think that you're going to go to law school and forget those lessons.
Right.
Yeah, because you're definitely going to remember it. While we're waiting for the next question to come in, I'm going to ask you one. So tell me, most memorable verdict. What's the top one?
Yeah, I have two. All right, is that okay? Can I have two?
Oh, absolutely. You can have two.
All right, it was my biggest one and my smallest one. So I'm going to start with the smallest one first. We had a legal assistant that worked in our firm, and he was driving through a convenience store parking lot, and somebody cut through the parking lot because they didn't want to wait for the light and ran into him. And it caused $800 damage to his car. So we filed the claim with the insurance company on his behalf. They refused to pay it, and we had to go to trial on an $800 property damage claim in county court at law in Houston. And sure enough, the night before trial was supposed to start, I called the other attorney and I was like, what are we doing? Are we really going to go waste 6 jurors' time over $800? And he said, see you in court in the morning, and hung up on me. So that motivated me to stay up all night. And needless to say, we won the case. We tried it in one day, got an $800 verdict, and we saw him in court the next morning. My second most memorable verdict was the one that we just got recently in Corpus Christi. And it's because it was the biggest. We had a case against Walmart that we filed, and our client was ran over when she was exiting the Walmart parking lot. And this particular Walmart didn't have stop signs at the end of every aisle leading up to the storefront, and cars just roll right through the pedestrian walkway, and it's extremely dangerous. And based on all of the other incidents where other people in that similar fashion had been run over and injured, men, women, and children, and we played the videos for the jury, we got a $43.6 million verdict, and 13.6 of it was in actual damages, and $30 million of it was in punitive damages. And now we have photographs after photographs that are sent to us of Walmart's putting in stop signs in the parking lot. So we were happy to be a part of that, because hopefully that's going to help prevent that issue from happening again.
Wow, that's fantastic. That huge verdict. So next question, this is Sharon again, and somebody else better step up or Sharon's going to get that mask. Do you have any advice for folks taking a non-traditional path to law school? And I assume by non-traditional, like not going straight to law school, like, as we say, kindergarten to law school.
Right. I will tell you, I was one of those people. When I graduated from UT Dallas, I didn't have enough money to go to law school. So I worked 2 restaurant jobs for a year and saved up as much as I could. And I went a year later. We had several people in my class that were older, more, advanced. We had one doctor that had decided he wanted to go to law school after practicing medicine. And, they all did fine as far as getting through law school. If you take whenever I hear non-traditional, I think I'm going to go work a little bit before and save some money. Like you said, Barbara, that's one non-traditional way of going. And that's really what I did too. But in addition to that, some people go get their MBA before they go to law school. We actually had a joint program at U of H, which was a joint JD/MBA that you could get in 4 years, which would normally take you 5. And I had a friend that went through that program. And so if you're interested in business, you might want to check that out just to see if that's something that you might be interested in. In addition to that, like I said, if you're not quite ready, but you think you want to go to law school, before you go and bite the bullet on that high tuition, the tuition has gone up so much since I was there. Go intern for a law firm. Go intern for a judge. Go down to the courthouse in Dallas and watch in the district courthouse proceedings that are going on. Whatever you're interested in, go do it. If you want to be a family lawyer, possibly, or an immigration lawyer, try to find someone who could use a free intern and go volunteer to intern 5 or 10 hours a week just to get your feet wet and to kind of get into it and see if that's really what you want to do.
I think that's a good segue to Leslie's question, which is any advice on securing a position, say as a legal assistant, as an undergraduate student with no legal experience?
Absolutely. I will tell you that one of my favorite stories is a lawyer that worked for me who recently left because of a pregnancy. And I will tell you that she was a student at the University of Houston paralegal course. And I go in and teach one class every semester at U of H's paralegal course. And I walk them through step by step what it would be like to be my paralegal on one of these really big catastrophic personal injury or wrongful death cases. And we start the day we sign up the client and we go all the way through the verdict. And it's a 1-hour PowerPoint that I put on. It talks about discovery and all the phases of civil litigation and all the ups and downs that we're going to go through together over 2 to 3 years as we work on that case together. Well, she reached out to me and wanted to become my intern afterwards. So I let her intern for me. Then she went and got a job as a legal assistant. Well, she kept thinking back about my presentation and decided she wanted to take the LSAT. And then she went to law school, graduated in the top 10 in her class, and got a job at a big firm in downtown Houston, and then came and joined me a few years later as my associate. So there is a lot of opportunity for you to go get that experience. I have a family member who was a legal assistant before she went to law school and graduated first in her class at her law school in California. And it's all because of that experience that she got before she went to law school. So that's another opportunity. Become a legal secretary, become a legal assistant, because you're definitely going to see what the practice of law is like and what law office politics are like before you go and jump in. Can you tell me her name again, the one that just asked?
That was Leslie Medina.
Thank you, Leslie. Got it.
Yeah. There was, you were talking about our peaks and valleys, and I wanted to mention that I'm really happy that you mentioned that, because it is an issue with the legal profession, that there are high rates of alcoholism, high rates of depression. One of the great things in the state of Texas, the State Bar of Texas, is we have the Texas Lawyers Assistance Program. It's called TLAP, and it's done great things with lawyers who've kind of fallen into that alcohol and substance abuse trap. And there's some excellent presentations about it that I used to give to my paralegals when I was teaching them about being able to recognize when maybe your boss, has that kind of problem. So I just wanted to say, it's I have too seen many friends, high performing friends who just couldn't take the stress of it. And so I think it's good for all of you to go in knowing you got to keep that balance, you know. And so, question, and this is from me.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get that first job coming out of law school, and where did you work?
Oh, that's awesome. I worked for a firm that was called Ware Snowfogel in Jackson. And they were mostly former Vincent and Elkin lawyers who branched off and started their own firm. And so it was a smaller firm, 25-ish attorneys. But the pay was great because they were former V&E lawyers, but they absolutely required you to work V&E hours. So my minimum billables my first year out of law school was 2,400. And so we were working a lot, but we got a lot done, and I loved it. It was a family atmosphere in there at the firm, and I enjoyed my time working with those guys. I got that job because I went out on a limb, and on my resume, I decided to put my interests at the bottom of it. And there's a great debate about whether or not you did that back in 99 to 2000 when I did it. And I put interests include college football, duck hunting, and cooking. And I will tell you to this day, I got my first job because of that. And it's because they looked through all these resumes and they had one partner at the firm who needed an associate. And he was the only guy that did personal injury work in the firm. And he loved college football and he loved duck hunting. And he saw my resume, and he also used to work at Pappas. He was a waiter at Pappas. And so he knew for me to get as far as I did through management with that organization, he knew what I was made of, right? And so he brought me in for an interview, and I got that job just because of that.
I am so happy. Everybody who is on this call who has already talked to me about their resume, at the very end of it, I'm telling them, you say personal interest and you say 3 things. And I promise you, they will overlook sometimes your fantastic academic experiences and work experiences and connect with you because you say, I enjoy opera, or I like to hit golf balls at the driving range. It is that personal connection. So I'm glad you said it too, because I've been saying it, all month long. Okay, Anastasia's typing a question right now. We'll see what she has to say when it comes in. And I would say this too. We're going to have you come back because I want everybody to hear what you have to say about the Seventh Amendment.
I'd love to. Yeah.
And so I think definitely that would be kind of a good thing for our law conference when we get back to it, because I think that that's a great topic. And so we'll keynote you up on that one.
I'll take you up on it.
Yeah. So let's see. Okay, and we'll let this be our last question. I know it's late, it's Friday. Here we go. This is Anastasia Whitmore, who, by the way, is one of my mooters. How well do law schools prepare you for the real world? Also, how did you know that the legal profession was right for you? So how did law school prepare you for the real world? And I'll just throw out from SMU, not very much. And how did you know the legal profession was right for you?
I'm going to go with the second one first. I'm going to go out of order, okay? I knew the legal profession was right for me because whenever I was a manager at the restaurant, one day INS came in and raided our restaurant. And I saw the power of the law in full force in front of my eyes. And quite honestly, it intimidated me. And I made my decision right then that I wasn't going to be intimidated by the law anymore. And so I was going to go and learn it. And that's literally why I stepped out of management and went to law school, is because I knew that there was so much more out there that I wasn't going to be able to wrap my hands around cooking for the rest of my life. And I mean, I absolutely loved what I did. And it was one of the hardest decisions I ever made. And I'll probably end up owning a restaurant whenever I retire from law school. From the legal profession. I loved it that much. But at that moment in time, I felt this yearning for more. And I felt this intimidation of something that I didn't know. And it just motivated me and lit my fire. So that's when I knew the legal profession was right for me. That's whenever I changed my major at UT Dallas. That's when I dropped out of management at the restaurant. That's when I went and got the internship with the federal judge, started taking pre-law courses at UT Dallas, and the rest was history, right? So to speak. How does law school prepare you for the real world was your second question. And that is a fantastic question. And I'm going to tell you, if you take the traditional route through law school, the answer is not much, exactly like Barbara said. And the reason is because they predominantly teach you how to think like a lawyer in law school. They make you brief cases. They make you understand how to stand up and speak and voice your opinion about a case that you read and answer questions about those cases. That's teaching you how to think like a lawyer. But there are actual classes at law school that teach you how to be a lawyer. And you are a moot courter, Anastasia, and you're in one of them. I'll tell you right now. Moot court, mock trial. At our school, there was an immigration clinic where people would go and represent refugees pro bono, and that is teaching you how to become a lawyer, not think like a lawyer. There was a mediation clinic where you could become a certified mediator in law school and go down and actually get to mediate county court cases as a law student that had the amount of controversy less than so much amount of money, so that you're not going to mess it up real bad anyway. It's a dog bite case, right? And it was fun, and people got to actually become a portion of their future self. And they did that through actually actively putting into practice what they were learning in the classes. But I will tell you that I agree with Barbara. Law school teaches you to think like a lawyer, and that's important because you do need to know how to brief cases and break them down and persuasively write motions and briefs and all of the other things and do legal research. But it's those other additional things, the practical things, I think, that actually prepare you to be a lawyer or go into work for a law firm.
Agreed. I was in a criminal clinic where I tried cases, misdemeanor cases. I was in a civil justice clinic where I did family court stuff and figured out I didn't want to do family law. So that is true. In those clinic environments, I definitely learned. That's where I learned about the practice of law. And then I learned, like you did, to be a great thinker, in the rest of it. So I think that and everyone is saying thank you so much. This was fantastic, and I hope that if we ask you to come back and help us out again, that we'll throw even more topics out here. So thank you so much for your time. It was great hearing about your experience. Thank you so much. Wonderful stuff. And thank you from me. I can get you my address later on so you can send masks and send me a mask too.
I will.
Yeah.
I'll send you some goodies. All right.
I'll be happy to advertise for you. And and we look forward next week to having you being on the final panel for our moot court tournament. And I hope let's see, Anastasia, Sharon's on the moot court team. Maybe you'll be seeing them in the final round. That'd be great.
Oh, we'll hope so. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, John.
You bet. Thank you.
I'll sign us off. Let's see.